I met him in the early 2000s in a nightclub called D2PM at the End in central London. And we formed a close bond and became dear, dear friends. We were neighbours for many years, and I would go and stay on his sofa while parties would rage around us. And I always just felt safe in his company. He was also someone who was incredibly proud of his friends. He always loved to see them succeed. David had many different lives, and he was quite open about his journey. He had run an agency for sex workers in London, and many of those people that had worked his agencies remained his dear friends. And when he had then closed that down, he had then actually started becoming a dealer. So he was the most glamorous cocaine dealer in London. As the years progressed and the scene changed and the drugs that people used changed, and it started to feel less fun for people.
When we were working on Chemsex, there wasn't even a word. David created that word. And he was a reference, because when Chemsex started to come out in different places in the world, they look at London. The gay community, we always use drugs to connect. There is a problem of low self-esteem, problems with connection, fear of rejection, HIV, and David had this high empathy regarding shame, guilt. He really cared.
I grew up with a lot of issues around sexuality, not only gay shame, but having been abused as a child and molested. And for me, sex was always quite complicated. So when I tried crystal meth that first time, for the first time in my life, you know, I was 27 years old, first time in my life that sex felt actually free and shameless. And, you know, I felt actually quite sexy on it. These are the reasons why we keep going back. You know, the lack of self-love and the lack of care for oneself. And David knew that those were the key points when you needed to love yourself the most. On a personal level, I always felt like David really understood me. And more than that, David always made me feel that I was loved and cared for, and that there was somebody in this big city of London where, you know, I knew nobody, but there was one person that I could reach out to, and that, you know, he was there for me regardless.
To the sex worker community, David is a complete legend. Not only for the kindness that he showed to our wider community, particularly as we were needing to bring parts of our own community or even clients to him, but because he was a demonstration of not letting his personal history obstruct him, that he was able to run clinics and change the world, and there wasn't a glass ceiling of stigma that stopped him from doing that. He was transparent in who he was and how he did it, and he didn't let any of that become an obstacle, but it was an asset, because he knew how to be himself and demonstrate, if you can love him like this, then you can love everyone else in these communities. And I'm not sure how much of the self-love that he was giving to others, he was able to process fully himself. I wish that he'd had more support to help him cope with that, because it's an enormous weight.
David's passing was unexpected. He had been giving so much of himself to other people for so long, and it's very clear that he wasn't looking after himself as well as we would have all hoped that he could be.
He said to me, we have to be great. We cannot be average. The community needs us to be. Sorry. He said that many times. He said, we need to be great. We cannot, we cannot be average.
He's a real example of why people shouldn't be judged for the decisions that they make. They should be judged by what it is they want to achieve in life and how they are unashamed or can be unashamed to do that.